Hi, so today I'm showing you how to use Socrative, and I'm going to go through how I use Socrative in a lesson in this past year with the fifth grade. And so at the beginning of the year with the fifth grade, I talk about copyright, fair use, plagiarism, all that fun stuff. And so I introduced the topic to them through some discussions and videos, and then I made a slideshow kind of recapping some of the subjects that we had gone over in class. And so I shared the slideshow with them and I reviewed these different aspects of copyright. And something that students really struggle with copyright is that you often, especially with fair use, you have to think through it yourself logically and what you think might be fair use and what isn't. There aren't really hard, fast rules about it. And so I came up with an exercise on Socrative to help them begin to think themselves about whether something is fair use and if they're using copyright correctly. And so I showed them a few videos that described different situations involving fair use. And then I decided to let them judge for themselves if different situations fell under fair use or not. And so in order to do this, I used Socrative. So we got to this part of the slideshow, and I told them to go to Socrative.com, room 25955. And so I had logged in as a teacher, and I could start a quiz by clicking on that button there. And I have these quizzes that I had pre-made, and I wanted to start the copyright case studies quiz. And I wanted this to be teacher-paced, meaning that I would choose when they saw each question and give them time to answer it. And so I can go ahead and click start. And from the student end, they just need to go to Socrative.com, go to student login, and they don't need to have an account. They just go to room 25955. So I had that posted, 25955. Click join room. And then you can disable the name feature if you want the quiz to be anonymous, or you can ask them to submit their name. And I've already showed them the first question, and so that's coming up. And so I described the first situation to them, and I had them think about whether or not they thought it was fair use, and then I had everyone submit their answers. And so as the student, I'm going to submit my answer here, and it's waiting for me to go to the next quiz question, which I'm not ready for yet. And on the teacher end, I can see that one of my students has answered, and so the whole class has answered. And I can check to see how they did. It looks like everyone got that particular question right, and we could have a discussion about it and move on from there. And so when I'm ready to go on to the next question, I can click next. And so I didn't include a lot of information in these questions, and you can see on the student end, the next question is available, because I had most of the questions on the information on the slide that was up in the classroom. And so once again, I showed them an example. I waited until I had seen that all the students had answered the questions, and I checked to see how they did. And then I showed them the slide saying whether or not it was fair use. And so we went through quite a few of these scenarios. And at the end of it, after they had practiced these fair use case studies, I still wanted to see if they had got the basic concepts of copyright or not. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this quiz, and they have really great report features where you can export it to an Excel or PDF or Google Drive and get all sorts of detailed information about how your students did on the quiz, but I don't need to export this report because it's just an example. So I'm just going to say go back to dashboard. And so there's another I made a second quiz on Socrative, and that quiz was just about copyright in general. And I wanted this one to be student-paced, so the students went through it individually on their own on their Chromebooks, and they moved through each of the questions. And there's a feature here that you can allow student feedback or disable it. And that's when you're making a quiz, you can basically have an explanation of why the right answer was the right answer. So after they pick the answer, they can see what the right answer was, and they can get immediate feedback that way and clear up any misconceptions that they have. So I'm going to go ahead and start this quiz. And my student version here is still logged into the same room, so I'm going to enter in my name again, and then I can pace myself through this quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and get this question wrong. And it says incorrect. It has the question again, it has the correct answer, and then it has the explanation that I added as to why that is the correct answer. And then I'm going to go to the next question, and I'll get this one right. And once again, it shows the correct answer and an explanation. And so the student can go through and take this quiz on their own. And as the students go through, it will have a list here of all the students and all the questions. And so you can see how the student is doing on the quiz and also how the class in general has done on the quiz. So you can identify any questions where a lot of people got them wrong and say, oh, I need to go over that concept again. Or you can see questions, if everyone got it right, you can say, it looks like it's time to move on from this subject. People seem to be getting it. And so I used both of those types of quizzes on Socrative, and I found it really helpful. And there's lots of different quizzes that you can make. And I hope that you enjoy Socrative and using that tool. Thanks.